The Pioneer Valley, and more specifically Springfield, has a very diverse history when it comes to the Civil War and to the end of slavery. We toured one of the Springfield Museum's exhibits about the Civil War with the museum's director, Guy McLean.
This exhibit is our John Brown Civil War exhibit. Springfield was a very important place during the Civil War. It was a major manufacturing center because of the U.S. Armory that was here. Hundreds of thousands of rifles for Union troops were made in Springfield, as well as pistols made by Smith & Wesson. And we also, in this exhibit, we also have a section on John Brown. John Brown, who was a very important abolitionist, very pivotal in helping to bring freedom to the slaves in the South, actually lived in Springfield in the 1840s. And so we celebrate the fact that John Brown lived here, and we also look at the Civil War and its impact on Springfield. We have three wonderful portraits here in this exhibit. Abraham Lincoln, a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was an extremely popular figure, especially in New England, and so many people had replica paintings of Abraham Lincoln, and the one that we have here was in Mass Mutual Insurance Company in their offices at the time. The other two portraits are important portraits of politicians and figures in Springfield history that were pivotal in the Civil War era. George Ashmun was a senator and congressman who was very close to Abraham Lincoln. And then the other portrait is Samuel Bowles, who was editor of the Springfield Republican. Samuel Bowles knew Abraham Lincoln very well, and actually Samuel Bowles is the person who nominated Lincoln for president at the Republican Convention in 1860. In this exhibit, we have several very important artifacts from John Brown. We have John Brown's desk that was in his warehouse. He was a wool merchant, was here in Springfield, but he was very involved in the Underground Railroad. And in this desk, he actually hid escaped slaves. We also have his safe and his rocking chair and a few other smaller artifacts from the John Brown years in Springfield. We have Civil War uniforms. We have some other artifacts here, a sword from the Civil War used by soldiers at that time, several other artifacts that relate to soldiers' service during the war. The Civil War was probably the most pivotal event in American history. The great debate, the great issue in American society from really the founding of the country back in the 1770s all the way up to the Civil War was the issue of slavery. It divided the nation, was a very important factor. And the Civil War only was one chapter in this story. We dealt with this issue, race relations and race problems, throughout the end of the 19th century, well into the 20th century. And in some ways, we're still dealing with this problem in America. And so these issues are very, very important, and I think students need to come and become very, very familiar with these issues and look at figures like John Brown and the people who served in the Civil War and fought for the freedom of the slaves in the South.
To learn more about the involvement of Western Massachusetts in the Civil War, log on to springfieldmuseums.org.